Hello, everybody. It has been a minute. Welcome back to the Mindful Show, and I'm excited to be back on this set. The Mindful Show is about all things mental health. So, stuff that's good for your mind, stuff that's good for your well being, stuff to just help us become better at looking after our minds and the minds of those we love. So since I saw you last, a lot has happened, but that's for another day. Today, I am excited to talk about something that's becoming commonplace. A lot of our friends, families are talking about this substance abuse. And today, I'm really excited. On the set, I've got a friend. Now, the story to this interview is very interesting. So when we last did the show, many of you sent us feedback, and thank you so much for that. Many of you sent us feedback, comments, questions, and my guest kept asking, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? So since he had a very interesting story that's very inspiring, especially for those of you who are big on mental health, I said, guess what? You'll be the next episode. So I am excited to introduce our guest on this episode. On the set today, we have Henry. Henry is a survivor of substance abuse and alcohol addiction. And we're going to have a conversation on that. Substance use, abuse, and your mental health. How are the two connected? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I hope we have an amazing time together. But before we do, some traditions haven't changed. We usually start with a game, a welcome game. So Henry, I have 3 cards here.
Okay.
So you are going to pick any one of these cards and just answer. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answers. So here you go, anyone. The blue card, okay? So there's a question in there. What does the question say?
When do you feel the most courageous?
Wow, when do you feel most courageous?
I can say when I'm talking to people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you're talking to people, so this is a good time. This is good. So your courage is,
building up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. So Henry feels most courageous when he's talking to people. But we want to know, this person who feels courageous when he's talking to people, tell us a bit about yourself. Who's Henry? Where was Henry born? Is Henry a sibling? Just tell us, who's Henry?
Okay, thank you so much, Helena. My name is Mark Henry Enyipu. I'm a firstborn in 4 girls. We are 5 children, so I'm the firstborn and only boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had to throw that there, only boy. Okay.
Yes.
They always do it.
It's very important.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So currently, I did my university, my bachelor's degree at Uganda Christian University. Currently pursuing a master's course in counseling psychology.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes, that is it.
That is Henry.
About Henry.
Okay.
Grew up in Tororo. I was born in Tororo, grew up there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Tororo is special. You grew up in Tororo, I married in Tororo, so that's very special.
Very.
Good. So I want us to just talk about addiction, broadly speaking, and we're here to hear your story. So just tell us about the road there. You know, how did this start, and how did you know, okay, this has gone overboard?
Okay. Yeah. So my story dates back to 2006. That time I was in senior 2. I don't know, there's something about senior 2. If you listen to very many stories of people who have gone through addiction, it is always senior 2 in most cases. That is the time. So it was in senior 2. I was in this school, single-sex school. So I was in the library at some point because for me, I am from a born-again family. Both my parents are born again. We grew up in church, you know. By I think age 8, I was already playing piano.
Oh, you played
in church? Yeah. Yes. Actually, age 8, it was in Sunday school, and then at a certain point, as I kept on growing, I think they said yes, he qualifies for the main church, not just Sunday school. So I grew up in that, you know, in that Christian environment. So when I joined senior 1, I went with that, you know. I have seen. I grew up in church. Really, there was that moral, you know. I went knowing I'm not going to get into any sort of problem. So senior 1 went on well. Because, you know, the class is timid. Senior 1, you know, you're still trying to be humble. But senior 2, so back to that, we're in the library with a friend of mine. Then we see this tall gentleman coming, you know, with an afro, and so he came and he's like, there's a game we are going to play, and the winner is going to take 2,000 shillings. 2,000 shillings in 2006 at school, that was quite a big deal. You know, it can take you
for like 3 days.
Exactly. So said, what's the game? So he pulled out this something and a spoon, some dark stuff, put it on the spoon. It was like tea leaves. So it's like, you're going to put it under your tongue. No, here. I'm going to put it under here. The first, whoever vomits first is out of the game. So since we're only 2, we knew that, okay, whoever comes out first, it means the others won. So we said, bring it on. It is just, so we needed to be sure that this is not poison or something. So he showed us, do you see what is on the package? It was Cuba. It had the name Cuba. Then down, there was something like a perfect mouth refreshener. So when I looked at a mouth refreshener, this is not poison, this is not anything, I can try it out. So we said, bring it on. We put it. My colleague, I think in about 15 seconds, was out. He had vomited. Yeah, and so of course it meant I was the winner. So I didn't need to hold it more because I was dying literally. My lips were just shaking, you know. So I put it out, you know, got the 2,000, said I will never get into this game anymore. But as I sat down after that process, something was happening in the mind, and, you know, it's feeling a bit relaxed, and, you know, there was a certain strange kind of feeling I was. So I said, okay, yeah, this thing made me vomit, but not bad. It's not bad in terms of how it's making me start to feel. But, you know, I had said I will never do it again. That was just for the 2K, and that is it. So the long story short, it now started happening. I started seeing it. It was something common, and I started using it. So senior 3 comes in. Of course, things are already starting to show. Academics are starting not to go well. There are already things that are happening, but I'm persistently using. So I started by using, I said, okay, once in a day. No, it started from the weekend, only weekends. Again, only weekends, once in a day. Once in a day, maybe twice. Twice, maybe we'll do it every after a meal, after breakfast, lunch, what.
Oh, wow.
Before I knew it, I had to have it all the time.
So you went from not being able to even hold it in your mouth to taking it literally all the time.
All the time.
So that tolerance was increasing.
Exactly.
All right, interesting.
Yeah. So senior 2 goes like that. You know, I'm using it, but more. However, when I started realizing that, okay, maybe this thing is becoming part of me, was because, you know, once we are going back home at the end of the term, I would say to myself, okay, we shall resume it next term when I come back. But as for holidays, I don't want risks. Otherwise, I'll be eaten alive, you know, at home. So I said, but now I realized the first day in the holiday was very difficult. things were not moving. I was feeling bored. So I said to Roro, where can I get this? There are very many Indian shops. It was sold in Indian shops. So even at home, I started using. So come senior 3, I started using alcohol as well. Being in the school, you know, that's a topically boys' school. Alcohol is easy to get. There is not much supervision since it is a very big school. So I started using alcohol alongside
the Cuba. So just help our viewers understand. Did you start using the alcohol because the Cuba was no longer enough, or somehow the Cuba was just a gateway and it became easier for you to access? How did we go from Cuba to now alcohol?
Yes. So
peer pressure, what was it?
Yeah, actually, you know, when I was using Cuba, I was seeing everyone using it. Most of the people using it, but then again, there was a big number of people who were using it alongside the two. Alongside, you see someone taking alcohol and taking Cuba. So out of curiosity, I say maybe the combination has a different kind of effect it gives.
So you started looking for a different high or something.
Exactly.
Wasn't enough.
Wanted to take it to the next level, as they used to say. They used to say, when you take the 2, you're going to the next level. That was the slogan.
Wow. Yeah, so 1 is level 1, then when you take that to the next level. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Henry. Now, substance or alcohol addiction is about the compulsive use of harmful substances. Compulsive meaning it's really beyond your control, believe it or not. You just get to a point where you can't help it. You just have to keep having and having and having more of that stuff. And today on the show, we are talking to someone who has survived substance abuse and alcohol addiction. And we're really just going to explore the connection between substance abuse and mental health. Henry Enyipu, everyone. Henry, before we took the break, you were telling us about how this thing progressed. So we had S2. S2 is have arrived. You know, your first use of Cuba, which was really a gateway experience, and then we are now taking alcohol as well, because if Cuba is something, then Cuba plus alcohol is the real deal. Continue talking to us about this, because I want to understand from you, was it school? Was it, you know, talk to us about now using both, you know, and yeah.
Okay, one thing that I didn't tell you before this was, you know, naturally I'm a small guy. So you can imagine in 2006 how it was, you know, that age 13. Yeah, and you know, so that was those were some of the things that, because you know you're in this single sex school, the bullying by that time was quite high. So when I started using this, I was finding that I stopped minding my size. I stopped, you know. Actually, at some point later on, there was a fight, and you know, I fought with this guy when I was high, and I beat him up. And it was a big encouragement. If I'm a small person, these guys keep bullying me, but I think when I'm under the influence, you know, I can be able to do stuff, you know, that I felt I was not capable of doing. Yes.
Because they always say addiction or substance use covers up some kind of pain, or in your case you are using it to hide an insecurity from being a small bodied man, and whenever you'd consume the substances you felt like David. So you were able to thump a guy who was bigger than you.
Yes, it was a big encouragement. I said, okay, if this can do that, then you know what, let's go. Let's keep on.
So when you would take the Cuba, you are a small guy, but when you take it, you'd feel like you're 60 kgs, like gololo of sorts.
Yeah, surely. Actually, how that came about, we were watching a match, and then there were quite a number of Arsenal fans in the room. So
a Snow wife.
yes. So when Manchester United scored, just got stubborn, went to the screen, and you know how like the player is celebrating, then you be like you're rubbing his shirt, which annoyed someone, and he hit me with a bottle. Yeah. So I turned back. You know, that time I was already very high. I turned back and, you know, just came for him, grabbed him, you know, by the shirt and put him down. You know, people were cheering. This small guy beating up this guy who has been bullying. Yeah, so, you know, also scaring him. I'm from Tororo. I know karate. What I think it made him keep a little bit quiet. It in actual sense, I've never done karate in my life. But so I think it also intimidated him. But you know, I was attributing it to what I had used.
The effect of the substance.
Because if I had not used, I would not go to the TV to do that. That crazy.
To stroke the player's shirt
and all that.
Which player did you stroke? Arsenal, Manchester. It's
Manchester
just important.
United.
You struck the Manchester guy, and then they came for you, and then you hit someone.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, I'm glad I support Arsenal. Yeah, but so clearly, I think for me, what's important here for our listeners to realize is that no one just starts taking substances. There's always something we are coping with, whether in your case it's an insecurity, for some it's childhood trauma, but there's always something the addiction or the use of a substance is masking. Now, our viewers are very keen to understand mental health and these connections between substance abuse and mental health. So mental health in its most basic form is really about how you think, how you feel, and how you act. So you've already told us, we've seen a sample of how you would act under the influence. You'd become Goliath. You would punch Arsenal fans, you know. But tell us also about your feelings in that moment. What kind of feelings do you have? Does it give you feelings of, and how do you feel? We know how you act, but what kind of feeling precedes that?
I think that was now after, when I started using a certain grade of drugs. When I started noticing.
So we went from Cuba to alcohol and now drugs as well.
Yes, and
when did we shift to the drugs? Where were we?
That time we were at the university. So because senior 4, I failed terribly.
Okay.
Yes, I failed terribly, but I was still able. At least I survived, and I was able to get something that would take me to A level. And part of that was attributed to the alcohol and the drugs. You know, I had thought, since this thing had worked at a certain point, it will also work in the academics. That, you know, I can say, I'm going to take and I'm going to sit the whole night and read. Yeah. So senior 4, that's now, I reached the paper and I saw stars in different papers. Things just disappeared. I went bleak because I was not understanding. For the first about 45 minutes, I was just seated there confused. The invigilator even came to wonder, this guy, what is wrong with him? Yeah, so in my head I was thinking.
So this was in your S4, eh?
Senior 4.
Senior 4 Cantab. So for our viewers, Cantab is like your final examination that determines whether you go to A level or not. Yes. So we've started S2, we're now taking alcohol, and now by the time we're doing Cantab or S4, we're now using drugs.
Yes.
Yeah. And what drugs were you abusing or using at the time?
Senior 4, that was still alcohol and Cuba, but just that I was now taking, you see, you're used to taking just one sachet. That time it was the sachets of, you know, that time I think 400 shillings or so, 500. So I would take more. About 3 of them. But now when I joined senior 5, I was able to get a school, senior 5, but you know, also knowing a little bit of computer here and there, and looking for money to, you know, facilitate the life. Because I've joined senior 5 here, I'm seeing quite new things people are using, and the school was also a little bit deep. in Mukono, in that accessing, even if you wanted Kuba and the rest of these, it was not as easy as it was the other side. So it involved a lot. You sent someone and it was a lot of money involved. So I found my way into the IT club, you know, and all that. So I thought to myself, okay, yes, there's the headmaster's report, I mean, stamp soft copy on the PC. There are blank reports. That's where, you know, teachers go and, you know, fill in and what. So I said, okay, I can make reports since I know how to get someone's marks. Passport photos are all there. Attach it. You ask someone, how many points do you want? That time we were doing out of 25 points.
Wait,
so
Henry.
Wait,
Henry.
Yes.
We are now discussing forging reports.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's what?
Yeah, report cards, forging, as you hear it.
So when you went to S5,
yeah.
You settle in, you're trying to find ways to access the drug.
Yeah, actually, the moment, now you see, usually people who use these things know themselves. I just need to walk in a room and spend about 5 minutes or so, and I will know whom we have the same interest as far as this drug is concerned. I see people moving up and down and settled. I would know. So I joined the school, and quickly I've already identified which people. So these people now tell me the prices, and I realize the prices are quite high. Then I am in the ICT club. I am thinking of how I can raise this money to facilitate.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So there are many things you've told us there that I think our viewers just need to pick up on. One, the price of this substance varies from place to place, but that two, in your S5, you found that in the school you went to, many other young people were abusing this. So this is obviously something that's affecting many young people. And we'll continue from there when we come back from our break. Today on the Mindful Show, we are having an interesting conversation on substance abuse, addiction, and mental health. And you know, we have an interesting story unfolding before us. But before we continue, do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, because the more you do that, the more people get to know about the Mindful Show, and the more we get to many people and have an impact. Also, shout outs to 20K Premium Fashion on the earrings. Please follow them on IG. They have sponsored this show. And yeah, if you like the earrings I'm rocking, follow them on IG at 20K. And now back to our interview with Henry. So Henry, before we went for our break, we had talked about just the progression, where we started, and Cuba, now it's intense, and then how you were going for exams and just had a blank mind. So would you say that was one of the effects also of using substances, harmful substances?
Yeah, definitely it was an effect, because I took more than what I had always been taking.
Because of the anxiety also around the exams. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
And the nerves, you know, you're shaking. It is the first paper, and you know, so in order to suppress that
anxiety,
I thought having this would work, and unfortunately, I did it minutes before getting in.
Okay.
Yeah. So as it was unfolding in the mind, I think it's what caused that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So people who are listening, hopefully we're able to just pick these things. So we've also been able to just appreciate some of the effects that abusing substances can have on people. So Henry just told us earlier, first there's the positive one, makes you brave, like Golola. And then I think in all of that, somehow in the getting high, I don't know, did you forget to prepare for exams? I mean, none of us, I didn't like to read for exams, so I'm not going to say, you know, that was the reason. But You know, you're in school, so obviously exams are part of that. At some point you have to do them.
Yeah.
And because you're not ready for them, you try and take a lot more of the substance than usual to calm the anxiety and panic around not being prepared for the exam. So in this particular case, you had an overdose.
Yeah.
And when you got into the exam room,
Blackout.
like you couldn't even see the paper.
Sure.
Yeah, the paper was blank and you were blank. It's not funny.
Yeah.
The paper was blank and you were blank.
Yeah, actually more blank.
More blank than the sheet of paper in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that one at least had questions.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, so this is now Form 4, and of course your performance took a hit because of that.
Yeah.
And then you told us you got into us. Okay, of course your results came out.
Not good, yeah.
The performance was not good.
Yeah.
Then we go into a school,
Yeah.
right? We get into a school and we've established what's happening in that school. You find other addicts,
Yeah.
but you also find that the price of maintaining your addiction is higher than in your previous school. So you have to find ways to pay that bill because it's quite steep now. We are on what? 4 sachets? 4 sachets plus alcohol?
Yeah, actually
5 sachets now.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, we're now at 5 sachets plus alcohol.
Yeah.
All right. And it's expensive where we are. So we have to find ways
Yeah.
to finance this urge, right?
Exactly.
And you told us to do that. You had a way with IT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course senior 5 was a difficult class.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally that time. So there are times they would even say the cutoff points is 4 points. 4 points. So someone gets 4 points, but they are showing promoted.
With 4 points.
Yes,
Wow.
promoted. So there were people whose parents were very tough. You get 4 points, promoted. So there was that category of people who would say, me, I can't take 4 points to my parents. They will beat me, you know. Something will happen. So I thought of how to sort these ones out using that office. You know, I went to, it was a lab. It wasn't really an office. A lab, people go and, you know, just do things. But since I'd had a little background, I knew how to search deeper. What is exactly here? So that was it now. I said, okay, there's this category. That time we're doing 25 points. That was it. So you want 23 points. That was about 80,000.
Wow.
80,000. So it was depending on your points. You want the full points, it was 100. 100 by that time was quite a lot of money. 2009.
So you hacked into the system?
Yes, because in the system, there were blank report cards.
So you could access blank report cards and generate fresh reports for students who are done badly. And you charge a fee for it.
Exactly.
So if you wanted so 80K was how many extra points?
80K, no, let's say if you have 5 points, but you want 23 to appear on your paper, that was 80,000. So if you wanted the full points, 25 out of 25, that was 100.
So 100,000 and you get your 25 points.
Exactly.
So did you have any points for 20K? No, but just keep telling us, right?
Yeah.
So you made money by hacking into the system and wow.
Of which eventually, now after that, it was discovered because at first,
they got you.
Yes, at first I had wanted to just do it for, you know, senior 5s, and then someone came and said, you know, even down in the O level, yeah, you know, we could make quite some money. Someone just appointed himself maybe an assistant to me because, yeah. So we went into that, but then one of the people in O level was called, and of course gave us in, and that was it. I was expelled, senior 5, yeah.
Wow.
So of course that now devastated me. I think that is now where these things start coming up, because of course I didn't. Now I saw I was in a difficult situation, and my parents came to learn of it later when I was sharing my story, like here, because now I thought.
Because so they didn't know.
They didn't. So I had thought that, you know, if I go home and bring a letter that I have been expelled, that would be a problem. That would probably very rigid. Like I have a very rigid dad, so he would be like, that is it. Seems you don't want to study. That would have. So I thought through and said, okay, good enough, it's third term. Why don't I just give myself 6 points or 4 points and say, advice to change environment, or maybe I should repeat such that I refuse to repeat, and then leave the
school.
Yeah, so that is what helped me. So I went, showed them that report, showed them the report.
So you also
things were bad.
So you doctored another report?
Yes, I doctored because now me, I was used to giving myself high points, but this time I said, okay, for this particular issue, I'm going to just do it this way. So I gave myself those few points.
Did you
but
pay
then
yourself
again,
100,000?
But then again, I had the other one, the one I had doctored of about 23 for looking for a school. Usually when you've left, you go and say probably. So when I went to look for a school, I went and they said, but 23 points. Why are you leaving that place? I told them, no, that place is not giving me what I want. I feel they are behind. What? Immediately she told me bank slips are there. Uniform is this amount and what. So I'd kept that report for that time. So I joined the school. That's now senior 6. Of course, back to senior 5, that time I started getting the depression. That's when I started seeing, okay, I think my life is getting in a mess here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after expulsion so from Form 4 to S5, even while you were abusing substances, you could also see that your life was going off track.
Yeah.
And it started to depress you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So I started feeling, okay, how did I get here? Like, is it now getting this bad? But one thing to note is, each time I would use, those thoughts would not be there.
Okay.
Because I would go into another kind of world where I'm not worried, I'm not thinking about whatever negative things are happening to me. Yeah, so I started seeing there is comfort in it. It helps you postpone. Right now you're feeling low, but take it, you'll sleep. When you wake up, you will
start
see
from there.
Exactly. So going on now, okay, I thought to myself and said, okay, this is senior 6 now. I've got this school. I'm not going to, let me just try. If I'm using in the modest, let me just finish senior 6 and at least secure a point in the university. So when I came back, when I joined, I remember that day I came in the evening. It was around 5 o'clock. I entered, I had someone shout my name. Me, I thought, I don't even, like, this is
the new school.
New school, the one I got after being expelled from the other side.
The one from the school which wasn't enough for you. You wanted a more serious school.
Yeah. So I had someone shout my name, and I knew that voice because we used to use now in the other school of O level together. So he's like, what are you doing here? I told him, I've joined. I think within 10 minutes, he had already showed me now, when it reaches this time, that's where we take from. When the wind is blowing, we have to be the other side. So I said, God, no, this is not going to be good. Yeah.
Of all the people that you meet when you join a new school, somebody from a gang is not the first person you want to meet. Wow. So Henry, hopefully our listeners can also appreciate there's so many nuances to what you're sharing with us. From using substances to cope with body insecurity issues because of your size, to now using substances to battle depression. For those of us who may not know, in summary, depression is a mood disorder characterized by deep sadness. That's the simplest way to say it. And we have an episode, so you can just scroll on mental illnesses. So we just touch a bit on that. So if you scroll, you will find something on mental illness. But Henry was battling depression because of what he was doing. So it feels like it was a cycle, because he also shares how, you use the substance, and then when you come off the high, you feel bad about it. But now it's hard to contain those feelings of sadness. So to deal with that, you take the drug again, and before you know it, we are in this loop, this unending loop of, you know, taking the drugs and then sadness, taking the drugs to cope with the sadness. And, you know, so that loop, we call it a vicious loop. So all of this is happening. We're dealing with depression, and you're trying to find a way to move on. You've run away from this school, you've come up with this fancy story, and you think, okay, I'm starting over. And then you enter, and the first person that calls your name is like, hey, you know, my guy, you're here. So this is where you find Kuba. This guy has it at discount. Like, how did you feel at that point? Because I'd be like, man, like, walk us through that.
Yeah, it was really, I really got lost. I first froze for a moment to think, okay, now this is bad, because he was one of the people who would use it so much. So, but you know, one thing I had also seen, I think he had tried to work on it a bit, and he was bended also on academics. At least he was reading, you know, was taking it moderate. And so I said, okay, maybe let's, and that is how actually I like we finished that senior 6 with him. We would go and read, yes, but you know, I was consuming it at low. There's a way I was starting, my body was slowly starting to get used that, okay, I have to use less quantities. And you know, also the mind is something, addiction is just, you know, about the mind. That's why you see someone will tell you, me, I can't sleep without a sleeping pill. But that is because he's in a place where they are accessible. But take him maybe to a place where there are no sleeping pills, and what the person will actually do sleep. Yeah, so I had thought, okay, let's, so I started, you know, and thankfully to God that at least I got good points that could take me to the university. So of course, you know, university now is just that is it, that's the place. So of course I thought about everything that had happened in O level, but you know, I was starting to also find comfort in the drugs and the alcohol because of that kind of thing that it would take away stress or postpone, you know, thinking about something. When I quarrel and, you know, I'm on top of my voice and what, to cool down, I have to go and use. So
you are also using drugs to cope with difficult emotions, to regulate your emotions.
Exactly. So I joined the university, and wow, everything is there in the university.
Yeah, and this was UCU?
Yeah, that's UCU. So I joined UCU, and of course, you know, there usually university brings together all the people, you know, primary, secondary. What, in one way you'll see someone
all converge.
Yes, you'll see someone you knew maybe even in primary, and so university starts, and you know, I am seeing the style. There are no caveras. People are drinking bottles of beer. You pull out your caveras, it is embarrassing. Cuba is considered a high school drug. I remember one time someone phoned me and it's like, you come on, style up. Don't do this when people are seeing you. This is a shame. People will mock you. So I said, okay, what is available?
Yeah, for now this level.
Yes, for this level.
So Cuba is amateurish.
Yeah, it was looked at as amateurish,
yeah.
And, you know, so beers, of course, were the thing. There was beer, but you know, taking it, I would not get, since I had started, since my addiction life started with me taking the spirits. It was a little bit difficult to cope with the beers, because you look at a beer whose percentage is about 6%, and yet the other one of 500, a Cavera is 600 shillings and 42%.
Yeah.
A beer is 3.5, this other is 500. No. So of course now you want to fit in. That was now the thing. So sometimes what I would do, I first go and take the cheap one, maybe from out somewhere hidden, then come
First
and
load.
then come and buy one bottle and
Of beer to just be seen.
just pretend that you're even taking it, otherwise you would vomit, mixing the two. So that happens for long, but now remember, this is university. My mom is teaching.
Mom is a teacher.
Is a lecturer.
A lecturer. Oh.
In that university. So the name starts making, we share the name, and it is not a common name, very rare. So one way or the other, every lecturer in class would ask, "Are you the son to the other lecturer?" So I had to be. So I was already starting to feel insecure because sometimes I would want to come to class when I'm, high and sit, but then because they know you, they have to pick on you to answer questions, or they call you, come and distribute these papers. Then now you have to look for a mask. So I found it a little bit difficult. So I said, okay, on days when I'm going to use, I'm not going to attend lectures. But things kept on going on. So of course in hostel, when it came to time now to move to hostel, usually the university, the first year, you sleep within the residential halls. And of course there it is difficult to smoke. They had the smoke alarms and it goes off. So now when we moved out to hostel, that's where things started getting bad. I went to this hostel, and I don't know how I landed on that hostel. Someone keeps telling me probably it was spiritual, but I tell them I want to think it was just coincidence. This hostel only had 11 people.
Only 11,
But out of the 11, one was gay. This one is into alcohol. This one is into weed. Like all the people there had issues in one way or the other. And so I joined them. So that is where now I see this thing, these people are smoking it, and their eyes are turning red. They are seeming to be having fun. Out of curiosity, I said, let me also try it. That was now weed, the marijuana. So I took it first day. That was it messed me up. My eyes were red, but I got a certain feeling. I thought it would be a good feeling, and I started with it a little bit. Now I'm mixing 3 things. Kuba is there, but I use it when I'm alone because I don't want to be ashamed. Then alcohol, I am taking both sachet and also beer once in a while. Now I've started taking marijuana. So that was now bad. So in second year, there was a day I woke up and I was on drip.
Wow.
I was on drip. I was asking myself, what's going on? Someone told me, first finish the treatment and we tell you. So they told me, this morning you woke up at 6 in the morning. You were putting on a boxer. You walked up to almost the university.
Wow, in just a boxer.
In just a boxer, no shirt. Luckily that time WhatsApp was not very that was the time I think it was just rolling in. So the picture, although of course some people had the picture, showed me this is it. Of course my mom has already detected by that time that he's not doing well, and so that's when they suggested I go to rehabilitation.
At that point
they said, well, if you've walked up to there, then that is a sign, and you don't remember, don't argue that you don't have a problem. If you walked like that and you can't remember, it means you have a problem. Let's do rehabilitation. That was another phase now of agony, because first of all there was that stigma of rehab. When they talk of rehab,
before, wow, this is exciting. So just before we go into rehab, I just want to, because there's quite a bit there, and I notice you've now introduced us to your mom, and I can't imagine what it's like, what it must have been like for her, to just hear these stories. And you said your mom is a lecturer. What field does she lecture in, or did she lecture in at the time?
Actually, my mom is a lecturer of counseling, psychology.
Wow, the
She's a
irony.
counselor,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Counselor by
Wow.
profession,
Wow.
helping other people's kids
Right.
come out of issues. Yeah, so there was a lot. And that also played out. It affected me at some point. Yeah, it affected me at some point because you start feeling you're responsible for her stress, for all she's going through, because of how can they look at your son? You claim to be a counselor.
Yeah.
How? When you can't manage your own, you know?
Wow. More when we come back.